Hello everyone. I'd like to talk a bit about null pointer exceptions, why they occur, how to fix them, how to debug them. I will start by using the events demo from session 3, and I've introduced a null pointer exception error into this code. So now if I try to run the demo, I get this yellow bird, and if I try to collect an orange, I get the null pointer exception. The first thing to do when you get such an error is to follow the hyperlink that NetBeans provides to go to the place in the code where the error occurs. This is where the error occurs in this case. Generally, null pointer exceptions occur because you are trying to access data or methods using a reference that was not yet assigned to an actual object in memory space. To translate that, I have this bird field here in the pickup class, and I've declared it, but I've never actually linked it to an object of type yellow bird. Again, make the distinction between a field or a variable that exists in the code, as we've discussed last week, and an object that exists in space. So right now, this field exists only in code. It was never linked to an actual object. So when I'm trying to access data or methods of an object through that field, it doesn't work. By default, when I declare a field or a variable of type reference, it is by default initialized with null. So this bird here is null. When I try to access anything of it, it doesn't work. So if you find a null pointer exception and you figure out that you have a field that is null instead of actually pointing to an object, it means you have probably not assigned a reference value to it. So in this case, what we intended to do is this, where I am giving my field, where I'm linking my field to this parameter yellow bird here. Remember again that this bird is different from this bird. They might share the name, but this is a field in the pickup class and this is a parameter in the constructor. So perhaps now my code will work. If I run it and I try to collect an orange, I still get a null pointer exception. And that's probably because this parameter now is also null. I can system out print line here to make sure. And if I run the code now, I'll get all these nulls printed here, which means that the parameter that I'm sending into the constructor is itself null, so it doesn't help if I'm assigning that value null to my field. To debug the problem further, I need to find out where I'm creating these pickup objects, where I'm calling this constructor. I will go into game and search here if I'm creating any new pickup objects. So I'm searching for this, and no, I don't create any pickup objects in game. Perhaps I create pickup objects in game world. If I search in here, yes, this is where I create pickup objects. Namely, I create 11 oranges, and every time I create a new orange, I create a pickup collision listener, and I attach that listener to the orange. I see now that in this constructor of pickup objects, I send in this.getPlayer. And it's very likely that this.getPlayer returns a null value. So I print line this, line here, just to make sure. I expect it to print my player is null, and indeed it does. So I need to dig it even further. So I'm going to go into this method, this.getPlayer, which is right here, and I see that it returns a bird. This bird is the field that exists in game world. It's this bird here. And weirdly enough, this bird is null. So why is that? Again, when I declare the bird field right here, its default value is null. And it means I probably don't change it somewhere else. So anywhere in my code, do I write bird equals something? Yes, I do. So I do create a yellow bird object, and I assign my bird to reference that object. So what is wrong then? Well, the problem is that I create this object and I assign bird to refer it after I create my oranges and my pickups. So right here, this bird is still null. So this getPlayer, which returns the bird, returns null. It's only over here that I'm creating the bird object. So what I will do instead is I will take this and move it right here. And now I think my code will work. I will run it and I will try to collect an orange. And indeed this time I don't get a null pointer exception. So what happened here is I first identified the line of code where my error occurs, and then I identified the field or the variable that is null, in this case bird. Then I figured out which object I'd like my bird to refer, and I decided I'd like my bird to refer this yellow bird I'm creating here. And once I establish that, I'm trying to figure out a path of assignments that links my field bird in the pickup class to the field bird in the GameWorld class. And this happens through the constructor, through this method getPlayer, and through this assignment right here.